Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today we are doing some NFL predictions. I'm just gonna let you guys know that for the last week or so I've been trying to do this. However, I have tried recording actually, but I realized that my recording either failed or the other days that I tried I was too busy trying to make other videos. But anyway, today we have absolutely enough time because this usually does take a while ever since 2017, since I've decided to start just using this website to do the whole entire predictions in one video instead of making a whole entire series, because my channel is not really based around sports as much as it is gaming. I do like to predict sports every season, like around the time like basketball and football and all that. I like to predict it, but I don't like to, like, on a regular basis make that content. Like, I am into sports and all that, so I do like to make sports predictions, especially football and basketball, but yeah, I'm not really much of a like, this channel is not really made for sports, and nor do I want to make a sports channel. But on my free time, I usually like to predict these. And something I did differently this year before I started my predictions is I actually a couple of times I went through the entire schedule on this website and predicted it. So I mean, yeah, I kind of already know what I'm going to do, but of course I do change my mind about certain predictions through time, because, like, I think I first did these predictions a couple of months ago when the schedule first came out. So, of course, my opinion will probably change within the next couple of months leading up to that. And it'd be really weird if I didn't, of course. And a lot of you have also told me that I should not base my predictions off of previous seasons. Now, in some cases, I think you're right about that. Usually it is the roster and the talent and the coaching and all that that matters. And off-season negotiation and trading and all that, drafting, all that matters. But also, historically how rivalries and matchups go and all that, some of it does matter because, maybe a team has never lost to a certain team ever, but yeah, most of the time, of course, that doesn't always play into it what the series record is. Usually, what plays into it is how good a team is compared to another. We know that already. And most of my predictions aren't based off of previous seasons, but of course, sometimes you can go by that because, hey, I mean, if it's highly unlikely a team's going to win in a certain location because of how they've historically played there, then if I think that makes sense, I'm going to make the prediction using that. Of course, I don't completely base my predictions off of that. In some way, I do, but of course, I use other things such as, what a team has gained through the offseason and what a team has lost. And I take that into consideration, but also if I think a team can play decent or will play way worse with or without that talent, then I'll make a prediction based off of that. So yeah, guys, like I've done before, I don't want to make this extremely long. Last year I shortened it down because I remember the 2017 one was really long because that was my first time actually doing all the predictions on this website. So now, I used this website even before that, but I only did it for the playoffs. But this time, since 2017, I've been using this website to do all the predictions in just one sitting. And I remember in 2017, that was super long. And by the way, that's one of the most popular videos on my channel, so thank you for watching that. I realize that even though I am just a gaming channel, some of the sports content I make is still very popular because, I mean, heck, like I just said, I spent 3 hours on that video in 2017, and it's one of the most. So yeah, guys, I realize that even though these videos can be very, very long, you guys will still watch them because you guys are into sports just like I am. It's just nice to know that even though people do like the gaming content on here, you guys also like the sports content that come with it. So thank you guys for watching all these videos, these sports videos that I put out, and these sports predictions I make every year. And just some information before you guys think I'm do any bias in this video. I am a Raiders fan, as my shirt says. Yeah, I am a Raiders fan. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna advertise any merchandise or anything for the NFL. But what I just did there is I want to let you guys know that I'm not biased for my team. Okay, even though some of the predictions I make may seem biased just because I like the Raiders. Yeah, I might pick them to win games, but I mean, I can't predict them to go 0-16 because they're my favorite team. Now, if it makes sense for them to go 0-16, then I'll pick that. But if it makes more sense for them to be, say, I don't know, 10-6, 11-5, I'm not saying that's what they'll be, but one way or another, it's highly unlikely they'll be 16-0 or 0-16. So you know I'm biased if I have them doing extremely well, and it hardly would make sense for them to. And I'm gonna spoil it for you right now, guys. I do not believe that they're going to be anywhere close to either of those two. In fact, I have them right in the middle. Now, so for some of you, that may not even make sense after how bad they were last year, but I think Gruden knows what he's doing, and he will help turn this team around. Now, of course, I still think that they have a lot of improvement to do, but they will be greatly improved from what they were before. Okay, I just want to make sure. I'm sorry if I look paranoid looking at that, but I just want to make sure it's recording because, like I said, I've tried recording before and it didn't work. So I want to make sure it does. Okay, guys, so with all that out of the way, of course, the video may just be long by me rambling on and on about things that, of course, are important for me to say, I think, but also I need to be a bit quicker about. So anyway, enough of that. Let's get into the predictions. So, oh, wait. Now, since I see it, one last thing. I realize that the Browns have acquired a lot through the offseason, and there's been a lot of talk about how they will probably win the AFC North. And I'm just going to spoil another prediction for you guys right now. I do not have Cleveland winning the AFC North. Now, I'm not going to say whether or not they do or don't make the playoffs. I'm just going to say because of where they were at last year, they were probably around I know they only won 7 games, but they were really close to about an 8-8 average team. So I mean, I think for Cleveland, with all they've gained, the only way to go is up. So honestly, I can't see them being any worse than they were last year, and I can only see them improving more than last year. So really, I expect them to be a game or two above where they were at last year. I don't think they'll be like 11-5, 12-4, or anything like that, but I do think they'll be within the 8-8, 10-6 range. You know, probably competing for the wild card. Now, I don't know if I'll have them in there or not, but you'll just have to see as I make these predictions. So right now, as I was talking about the hype around Cleveland, I already have them winning this game against Tennessee. Now, even though Tennessee is a decent team, and they probably are capable of being competitive in this game. It's hard for me to see them winning this game considering how much Cleveland has beat them in the past. Now, see, I am using the past in the case that Tennessee doesn't usually do very well. Now, I know Tennessee is capable of beating Cleveland because they did do it once within the several times that they lost. I think they played them 3 straight times, went 1-2 against them, so they did win one game, but I still expect that even though Tennessee is capable of beating Cleveland, Cleveland will still beat Tennessee. Not only are they at home, but I think they're the better team. Slightly, but I would say so. Okay, so now we have Baltimore and Miami. Okay, another prediction I'm basing off the past pretty much. Baltimore. Now, of course, even though personally I think Miami's going to be decent, I think they might be competing for a spot in the AFC East if New England stays around where they were at last year, because New England was about 11-5 last year. So I mean, they fell a little bit from where they were at before. So I mean, if Miami can actually, I would say if Miami can play teams like Baltimore, they may have a chance to beat out New England. Now I think it's highly unlikely, but beating out New England, I think they have a chance to do. So yeah, I think I don't know if Miami will get creamed or not, but historically, from what I've seen, Baltimore has taken down Miami pretty badly, regardless of location, and I think that's going to continue, even if their defense does fall off. So I've got Baltimore winning that game, and yes, I've also seen off-season trades that they've done, and they've pretty much given away what their defense once was. I still think that they'll be able to substitute what was once there, though, because Baltimore's been able to do that for years now. So even though I do think they'll fall off a little bit, I think their offense might also improve now since they have a mobile quarterback. They didn't have that before, so their offense may improve, and that may help them to get back to where they were before. Who knows? But enough of that game. Let's move on. Kansas City and Jacksonville. Now, I realize Jacksonville last year, their offense, not the greatest. Their defense was still pretty good from the season before, but their offense just got really bad because, of course, what everyone thinks it was Blake Bortles, and I have to agree with people who thought he was average. I don't think he was terrible, but he was just average. Like, he's a backup for the Rams now. So I think Blake Bortles in the position he's in, he's very deserving of where he's at. I mean, I can't say he's a terrible starter, but Blake Bortles is a decent. I think he's a great backup. That's what I'm going to say. If you ever need a backup quarterback, Blake Bortles is the guy you're going to want to have standing behind your quarterback. And the backup Goff, I think he would be good. Blake Bortles. So, yeah, enough of talking about what happened, but now they have Nick Foles. So their offense, just like Baltimore, I think they might get better because they have a quarterback who is obviously more coachable. And even though Nick Foles, I would say, is a bit less mobile than Blake Bortles, he's really good at passing compared to Blake Bortles, obviously. Blake Bortles was better at picking stuff up with his. I mean, he was decent at passing, but his better play was was running it for the team, taking it off himself. So, yeah, I think Nick Foles coming to the team is going to help him out a bit. But of course, I think they have a very defensive-minded head coach, so adding Nick Foles is probably only going to make that offense better and keep that defense where it's at. But even though Jacksonville probably will be improving a lot from last year, and the record will too, I still like Kansas City. Well, they're not going to fall off any bit. In fact, their defense just got better too. So, I mean, these two teams are probably near the same level, I would say, on competition. Jacksonville's offense improved. Their weak spot in Kansas City, their weak spot improved, which was the defense. So I think they'll be pretty good in that, and this should be a competitive game. But however, I like Kansas City in the end. I know Jacksonville last year kind of got it handed to them in Arrowhead, but I felt like that game was kind of what derailed any chance of them being a good team last year. It just demoralized them completely, thinking that they could beat a team like Kansas City, and they didn't do it. So completely demoralized them. And I think that was part of what made Jacksonville just fall apart through the rest of the season. But yet, of course, that offense was a lot to do with it as well. So, yep, Jacksonville. I have Kansas City beating Jacksonville. And now we have Buffalo and New York. Now, I think that's a split series. I'll go with the home team. I'll go to New York. And I think New York will be an improved team considering what they picked up with Le'Veon Bell and a new coach acquirement of Adam Gase. I think Adam Gase is a really good coach. Of course, he didn't quite have what he needed at Miami, and now he's getting what he needs at New York. So he possibly could turn this team around. I don't think they'll do it immediately right off the bat in his first season, but I do think they'll be a bit more competitive than they were before. So now Indianapolis and Los Angeles. Now that one's kind of tough because Los Angeles and Indianapolis were kind of the same pea in a pod there. They were like two peas in a pod last year because I mean they were the two teams that took up the wild card spots, so they were around the same town. I think Los Angeles was a bit better last year. Indianapolis just turned their team around at the right time. I think that's why they made it, but they actually turned out to be much better than anyone would have thought they would have played in the playoffs as they took down their rivals with ease. And then Los Angeles, they took down Baltimore in a revenge game and then got creamed by the Patriots. But that's not why I'm taking the Colts here, okay? Now, yes, I am taking the Colts. Now, you might think why. If you guys don't remember, last year the Chargers were a very bad home team, and that could be due to the small stadium that they play in because, I mean, low crowds aren't going to make you feel any better about your play. So, that could have been what contributed to it because compared to their road schedule, they seem to be a much better road team than they were a home team. I don't even know if they lost on the road at all last year. They may or may not have, but I do remember they lost some games at home that they probably shouldn't have. And I remember they lost to Denver and Kansas City at home, so that didn't help them too much. But of course, I can't really say they're going to be that bad this year. But honestly, I think Indianapolis is going to take a big step forward. And it's not that I think the Chargers will take a step back, honestly. I think they'll still be pretty good, but their record is going to suffer a bit because I think they will have a tougher schedule than last year. The whole AFC West does, according to the NFL ranking the schedules. According to them, the AFC West, all the teams in the AFC West have the toughest schedule. And my team having the toughest because we have like a 5-game road stretch, and I do not appreciate that. But anyway, enough of that. I do think Indianapolis will be the more talented team, just slightly. I think Los Angeles having this at home will make it a very competitive game, but I still like Indy on the road there, so give me Indy. Pittsburgh and New England. Now, most of you will think I'm very bad at predicting for this, but you got to think New England's really just been falling apart the last couple of years. Yeah, last couple of years, 2017 and 2018, these last 2 seasons, they've just really been falling apart as the Eagles beat them in the Super Bowl. Now, just because they won last year's Super Bowl doesn't mean anything. Now, we can just say that this dynasty is still alive, but think about how poorly both of those teams played. They both played terribly. And I think with how this offensive-minded NFL is, how offensive-minded the NFL is starting to become, I don't know if New England's going to be able to compete like in a league like this. And as Tom Brady gets older, it's probably only going to get harder for him to play in really high, heavy offensive games like this. So I think they're gonna fall off a little bit. In Pittsburgh, they are the epitome of offense. They are like one of the greatest offensive teams in the league. And no, that's not the reason I'm picking them, but just in general, I think Pittsburgh has been able to beat New England the last several times they've played them, except for 2016. But I think in the regular season, the last 4 meetings, I think Pittsburgh was very capable of winning 3 out of those last 4. So not to not to be biased here, but of course all of us seem to hate New England, but that's not why I'm picking Pittsburgh. I'm picking Pittsburgh because I just think in general they are the better team. Even though New England has found a way to beat all their competition in the playoffs and always find their way back to the Super Bowl, I still personally think Pittsburgh is the better team, and I'm going with the better team. Now, I don't know what the refs are going to say about that. Maybe the refs are going to pick New England by biased opinions of theirs or whatever Roger Goodell's paying them to do. Now, I'm being serious. I don't know what Roger Goodell's up to. I honestly don't think he's doing anything wicked. Yeah, I don't think Roger Goodell's doing like anything wicked, but I do in fact think something is behind why New England's having this much success. And I'm a bit surprised that they made it to the I'm surprised they made it to Super Bowl 52 for goodness sake. How Jacksonville and that defense played them, I'm surprised Jacksonville didn't completely shut them down. And there were even some penalties in that game that made me question if New England really did win that game fairly. And I'm not going to speculate anything, so I'm just going to go with what it was, and they won. So moving on now, I feel like I spend way too much time talking about these individual games, but I just want to make it clear why I'm picking a certain team to win a certain game, especially if it makes no sense. And now Denver and Oakland. Of course, Oakland always finds their way in the Monday night game, always around 10:20 p.m. as well, literally on a school night. And by the way, yes, I am not an adult, so I still have to go to school. Unfortunately for me, I will not be able to watch this game once again. Another opportunity where they're actually on television and I can't watch them because it's late. But I will take Oakland. I will take Oakland. They always take care of Denver at home. I'm not saying for sure they will, but I do think there is a very good opportunity for them to do so. I think it's very likely that they will. So I will take Oakland once the playoff predictor allows me to click because it's glitching up here and and now it's not even responding. Okay. So now it's allowing me to pick. So let's move on to Cincinnati and Seattle. Okay, Cincinnati. I think a few years ago, I don't know if they had them at home or not, but I remember Seattle. Well, I forget. I think either Seattle or Cincinnati had a really huge lead, and then one of the two came back and won it. I think it was Cincinnati. He was down by a lot, and then they ended up winning the game. I don't know if that was at home or on the road, but I just like Seattle straight up here because, I mean, Cincinnati, they will not be very good. I'm just going to say that right now. I don't think Cincinnati will be very good at all this season. If anything, I only expect them to fall off from where they were at last year. So I expect them to fall. So now we got Houston and New Orleans. Now I think that will be the offensive type shootout game that like Kansas City and Los Angeles last year. I think just the first week of the season we're gonna have one of those shootout type games. Now with New Orleans being at home, this is Monday night as well. It's probably a doubleheader. Oh, this is earlier though. That's when I might actually be able to watch compared to the team I actually want to watch. By the way, I clicked Oakland before. Okay, but yeah, I just got to go with New Orleans, guys. I don't think Houston, even though Houston will be able to compete with them for the most part with their heavy powered offense, I still like New Orleans. I think New Orleans in the end somehow is just a better team. They have what I would say a slightly better defense than Houston. So now you guys will probably argue with me, yeah, they have JJ Watt and all that, so why don't you just take Houston? Well, let's just say New Orleans is on a quest. New Orleans is on a quest this year, and they're going to win any game that they can, especially home games, because Drew Brees is getting older, and he is definitely going to want to win a Super Bowl. And no, not that's not the only reason I picked New Orleans, but obviously that home factor, I really just like the home in offensive shootouts like this. I really just like to take the home team. Sometimes the road team does win those types of games, but I will pick the home team just because I think the home team is better than Houston, obviously. All right, guys. So now we got Green Bay and Chicago. Now I believe they're making this the NFL kickoff game, like the first Thursday night game of the season. Like you guys know how usually the Super Bowl winner usually hosts that game. So traditionally uh it would be New England and Pittsburgh, but I believe for their 100th season and for their 100th season, they are going to make Green Bay and Chicago the opening game of the season. And I think that's because they are the two oldest NFL franchises that really just kicked off the NFL back in the 1920s. I believe in the year of 1920. I don't know if it was the first game or not that was played, but it has to be Green Bay and Chicago has to be one of the first games ever played because they were obviously one of the first two teams. So I believe with that being the case, that's why they are opening this game since it's one of they are opening this season because it's one of the oldest rivalries. Now I know actually Arizona is the oldest NFL team, but of course Arizona doesn't really have many old rival. I mean, their oldest rivalry probably has to be with 49ers since I believe they're the oldest team. Either that or the Rams. It was either the Niners or the Rams. I believe they started around the same time. Because, yeah, I believe the Rams started out in Los Angeles, so they probably were either rivals with the Rams or 49ers first, since I believe they started around the same time. But enough of that. Of course, being the oldest rivalry, I'm just taking the home team. I do believe it'll be a close game, but I like Chicago at home over Green Bay just because they're at home. It might be because they might be the older one too. I kind of want to take the older franchise in that too, but of course, Chicago being at home, I believe they also are the older franchise, so I will take Chicago there. I think Green Bay's not too far from the talent level of Chicago, but I like Chicago over Green Bay. Of course, one because of the being at home factor, and two, of course, them probably being the oldest franchise over Green Bay. So two factors. Washington and Philly, and of course I have Khalil Mack. Come on, why can't you beat Green Bay? Oh wait, that's right. The Raiders couldn't beat Green Bay with Khalil Mack. I forgot. Washington and Philly. Okay, another rivalry game. I don't know if this will be a split or not, but I'm going to go Philly, not just only because they're at home, because they're the better team. And Philly, even in times of being the underdog, they seem to still play extremely well, and usually they feed off of that. But in this case, they really aren't the underdog, so maybe we might see an upset by Washington, but I highly doubt it, as I like Philly. Los Angeles and Carolina. I could see Carolina pulling an upset for this one. But I just like Los Angeles too much. I think they're still going to be really good from last year. I don't think they're falling, so I'm gonna take them over Carolina, even though Carolina's at home. I still like that offense to outplay Carolina by a long shot. So I'm just gonna take the Rams, Atlanta, and Minnesota. And that one, I think Minnesota's a bit better than Atlanta, so I'll take Minnesota. I mean, I think their offenses are one alike, but I'm gonna take Minnesota. San Francisco and Tampa Bay. If Jimmy Garoppolo can stay healthy, I think San Francisco may have a chance in this one. And, he probably will be playing in it if he didn't get injured badly from last year. I forget how he got injured, but he was out for the rest of the season because of it. But I assume he's going to be playing in this game. But with Tampa Bay being home and getting a new and experienced head coach, I think Winston and Arians will be a very good duo, I guess, if you want to say that. Coach and player duo. I think that's going to be a very good duo, and I think he's going to help improve Tampa Bay quickly. I think because really Tampa Bay just a couple of years ago wasn't too far from making the playoffs, and just Winston's second season. So honestly, I could take Tampa Bay here. So I'm going to take Tampa Bay. And now we got Detroit and Arizona. Okay, so we got Detroit and Arizona. This is a tough one, actually. I think both of these teams could be very, very much like. I think because Arizona's at home, this will be close. Now, we all know Arizona was the worst team in the NFL last year. And no doubt in my mind they were. That's why they got the first pick. But this Carolina team was just very broken. They lost their coach. They lost the quarterback that they had starting for several years. I think it was like 2012, 2013 after he left the Raiders. Carson Palmer and Bruce Arians both left. And I mean, really, the only experienced player on that team you had was Larry Fitzgerald. And hey, the man can't do it by himself, so he struggled. And now I'm not just going to say that Arizona is going to improve quickly because of Kyler Murray. I do think that getting rid of that one coach they had, I forgot his name now, but the one coach they had, I think it was a good idea they got rid of him. So I think even though Cliff Kingsbury isn't a much better YouTuber, not YouTuber, I completely messed that up. A better coach, even though I think Cliff Kingsbury isn't much of a better coach, he in my mind is a better coach, and so I do think they'll be a bit better, maybe at win or two, but I don't expect Arizona to just become some powerhouse in their first season. But since Detroit is a questionable team, because one year they can be a team that makes the playoffs, and the next year they could be a team that's like 6-10. You never know with this Detroit team. I'm just going to take Arizona. Even though they may still be bad, I think they have enough to edge out Detroit in this season opener, so I'll take Arizona. And New York and Dallas. Now, even though Arizona has enough to outplay Detroit, I don't think New York has enough to outplay Dallas, even being a rivalry game. I still like Dallas because, well, they're the much better team. It's quite clear. That's why they won the division last year. Now, not to say they're going to carry that out this year, but I still think all New York gain, they're still going to struggle. So, yep, I've started. So, we are finally good to go back to recording. I almost poked myself in the eye. But before I make any stupid mistake like that, let's just get right back to this. So, Indianapolis and Tennessee. Okay, another game I'm basing off the pass. Tennessee, I believe, since Andrew Luck has been playing for them, I don't believe that Tennessee has. Yeah, I don't believe that Tennessee has beaten him at all. Like since Since Andrew Luck came to Indianapolis, I don't think they've beaten him. Maybe once or twice, but I mean, within the last several meetings they've played each other, I know that Indianapolis has taken care of business for quite some time. Tennessee's probably looking to snap the streak, but I just don't think this would be the year for that because Indianapolis is probably going to be better than they usually are. In fact, this might be their best year under Andrew Luck. So I'm going to take Indianapolis to win that game, regardless of where it's at. And I think Indianapolis will probably sweep them again because I just think Indianapolis is that darn good. So now we have Kansas City and Oakland. Now this game last year, I believe, was actually just a touchdown game. I believe the final score was 40-33. So I believe because of how competitive that was, Oakland is very capable of winning this game. And I think early on in the season, coming off of a fresh victory, both these teams coming off of a fresh victory were once again going to get another competitive and high-scoring game. I don't know who's going to win this. Right now, though, I think personally, being a Raiders fan and the rest of the team in general, we're all tired of losing to Kansas City like on a regular basis. We've only beaten them once within the last like 4-5 years, and it sucks actually. So I think we're gonna beat them. I think because of how badly everybody in Oakland wants us to beat Kansas City, as bad as everyone that has to do with this Raiders organization wants to beat Kansas City so badly. Kansas City will be motivated and they will probably maybe win this game. In fact, they probably have a better chance than we do to win this game. But I think we are determined to pull off this upset, and we're going to start this season 2-0. And look, we're already the best team in the West because we're the only team that hasn't lost. Now, one way or another, one of these two teams, I believe, will be at the top of the division at the end of week 2, whether or not it's KC or Oakland. I might be wrong about this. Kansas City might beat Oakland, and maybe they win on the road. Who knows? But I doubt it because Kansas City, one way or another, has found a way to beat Oakland at home like every time since 2013, I think. But yeah, it seems like Kansas City has been able to beat Oakland at home so many times in a row, and yet Oakland's only been able to win at home once. So they've shown they're capable of winning at home. So I think that if they're going to beat Kansas City, this is their best chance to do it, and I think they take care. Now, even with Cleveland being an improved team, I think New York also improves a lot, and so there could be a case for the Jets winning this game. I think this will be a very close and very competitive game, even though many people would probably expect Cleveland to come away with this very easily. You got to consider that the Jets are going to improve just as much as Cleveland probably will as they add another top-rated player to their roster, so that's going to help them out very greatly. However, though, I do agree that Cleveland will win this. I believe it'll be just as close as the last few times they've played the Jets, but I still like them to win it. Not by much, but by a little bit. I do like Cleveland to win this game. It's on Monday night. I don't remember the last time Cleveland has played or won a Monday night game, but I will surely tell you it's been a while. But I think they'll take care of business. And as you see, they're already 2-0, so you guys can tell I already have them doing really good already. And so AFC versus okay, yeah. So these categories have been here for a while. I don't know why I'm reading that off. San Francisco at Cincinnati. Now that one could actually be competitive. Even though I think Cincinnati will fall off a bit and San Francisco will improve, I think Cincinnati being at home might boost them enough to help them play well enough to beat San Francisco. I don't know. But I'm still going with San Francisco. I think having Jimmy Garoppolo in there and my doubt in him getting injured by this point, I think he's still going to be in there not injured. So I'd like him to play for this game. And with Cincinnati falling off as far as I think they will, I don't know if they're good enough to win this. So I'll take San Francisco, and that will help them get to, 1-1 because I had them losing to Tampa Bay. But anyway, whoever wins this game is going to get to 1-1, and I like that to be San Francisco, even though it's on the road. Now we got Buffalo and New York. All right, so this one I kind of think might be tough. Yeah, Buffalo's own one though. So I gotta take this into. I gotta think about this a bit because Buffalo's own one, and they might need this victory. But New York's also own one, and New York's at home. So I don't know who to pick here. I really don't know who to pick here. I don't know who I originally picked, but I'm gonna take Buffalo. I'm not even gonna think about it. I'm taking Buffalo. I think Buffalo's the better team, and I think they will improve having Josh Allen in there for a second year. So I do like them to improve, and yeah. I don't know if they still have Shady McCoy in there, but I don't. If he's still there, I don't expect him to get any worse. I mean, yeah, with that running game not seeming to get any worse, and I think adding some new wide receivers to the roster that'll help them out a lot. I like Buffalo to win this first game on the road in New York. And now we have the Chargers at the Lions. Even though Detroit, I think, does have a chance for an upset, I like the Chargers by a landslide. Even though Detroit, I think this could be an upset game. I like the Chargers. I think they're a much better team than Detroit, and I think they'll win this game. Even though Detroit, for some reason, will play a very competitive game, I still think the Chargers do end up winning this by a couple of possessions on the road. So I'll take the Chargers. And see, I can't have them starting out 0-2. I just think they're way too good to start out 0-2. Now, maybe Denver might be 0-2, but we'll just have to see who they're playing. Oh yeah, they're playing Chicago. Yep, I like Chicago. Even though Denver a few years ago had a really good defense, I think Chicago's now a team in their place with a better defense. Now, obviously not in the AFC. They're in a completely different conference, but I do think that they have a better defense now. I don't know if that's supposed to be Sunday night. No, Sunday afternoon. So yeah, of course at Denver they have to play that in the afternoon, or they'd be playing at like 10 in the morning over there, and I think they have before. Yeah, I think for some, well, for them, I don't know. I don't know. That's 4:25 Eastern time though, so for them that's 1 p.m. Well, 1:25 p.m. But anyway, enough of me. I don't need to calculate all that. Okay, Arizona and Baltimore. Now this is where you got to start to see how good I think Arizona is. I'm taking Baltimore. I think Arizona could be competitive in that game. I'm not gonna rule them out of that game, even though being at the Ravens against what I think will still be a decent defense and a much improved offense. I still think that they'll hang around. But Baltimore, in the end, I like them to win it because they are the better team. I think, like I said, Arizona will be improved, but not to the point where they're just going to start playing really well against teams like, well, I mean, they will be playing really well against Baltimore, but not to where they start beating teams you wouldn't think they would. Okay, so let's move on. Seattle and Pittsburgh. Now, this one, I'm just pulling the rabbit out of the hat on this one. I'm taking Seattle. Oh, I want to know what's crazy. Baltimore's the only team I have winning a home game between the NFC and the AFC this week. And so I guess the AFC ultimately wins because they had the only home team winning. And yet in the AFC they had 4 teams at home and there's 7 games listed, so I guess they had more home teams. So quite unfortunate. But yet for Seattle, I think Seattle, it's just a matter of pulling off a crazy upset you wouldn't expect. I mean, they did it against New England a couple of years ago. And I think this is one of these games that Pittsburgh out of nowhere is just going to drop. So I'm going to take Seattle out of Pittsburgh. Now, I know Pittsburgh usually loses to a bad team rather than a team that's caliber of Seattle, but still, I think Seattle does go on the road and pull off this upset. So I'll take them over Pittsburgh on the road. Away, we got Tampa Bay at Carolina. Now, this one I really have to think about. Carolina's 0-1, Tampa Bay's 1-0. I really have to think about this one. I think before I had Tampa Bay winning this game. You know what? Heck with it. I'll take Tampa Bay in this game. I like Tampa Bay to start out 2-0. Now that's going to put Carolina 0-2. That might be very demoralizing, but I don't think it will. I still think Carolina 0-2 is just going to realize that they face 2 really tough opponents, as Tampa Bay usually seems to start off really tough. But Carolina is not going to be very demoralized knowing they've played really 2 good opponents, or what I think to be 2 good opponents. So they won't just fall apart because all of a sudden they started out 0-2. I still think they're going to be very competitive in the future and will win games. Even though it doesn't look like that right now. So Minnesota and Green Bay. This is another split series, I think. Usually the home team wins this, so I'm taking Green Bay. Dallas and Washington. Now, this one's a tough one for me as well, as I feel Dallas is the better team. I'm still hesitant to take Dallas. You know what? I'll take Washington. I can't sit around and think about this too long. I'm gonna take Washington. I think Washington is gonna start. They're gonna have to start getting somewhere. Jay Gruden may be out the door soon, but I think this is how they're gonna start. They're gonna beat Dallas in what may be considered an upset, or maybe not. But I think it will be, since obviously Dallas is probably expected to be one of the top two teams in their division and possibly competing for a wild card if they don't win their division. So, yeah, this may or may not be an upset in the eyes of some people, but I'll take this as a win for Washington. New Orleans and Los Angeles. Now, payback time. I like New Orleans to go on the road and beat the Rams. Now, honestly, I think the Rams at home, you would think they have the better advantage, but I think New Orleans is going to go get some revenge on them for what happened in that playoff game. I'm taking the Saints. No question about that. I think both of these teams offensively have about the same caliber, but defensively, I think Los Angeles slightly has a better defense, but I still like New Orleans because I think New Orleans may even play unexpectedly better defense because no one was expecting them to just come out and play the way they did. So I think they may just come out and play unexpectedly, because that can happen in the NFL. Hey, it's the freaking NFL. It's gonna happen. Guys, I want to make sure I literally just plugged in my laptop. I want to make sure it's charging. Wait, what the heck? Oh, it's charging now. Okay, well, I think we're fine. How are we doing with the recording? Okay, we're doing fine. Okay, so enough of that. Let's wait for this to load back up. Enough of me explaining the New Orleans, Louisiana. I keep calling them Louisiana because it says LA, and that's usually the initials for the state of Louisiana. But it's Los Angeles, so I take New Orleans over Los Angeles. Now this is Louisiana. This is Los Angeles. Okay, Philly, Atlanta. Another tough one. I could go either way here because Atlanta usually seems to be very competitive against Philly, but that also seems to be when they're down too. I can't really say it. Well, the thing just completely. Oh, crap. Okay, guys, so I decided to go with Philly. Now, it really wasn't that hard to decide. I mean, leaving the recording, it made it seem like I really had a hard time, but I really didn't. I know it's not just because they survived them in the playoffs that one year, but I just think Philly is simply the better team. And honestly, they'll probably be competing with Dallas to win the division once again because I just think they're that kind of team, and they'll probably make it back to the playoffs for the third straight year. And I think the biggest thing helping them, of course, their coach, Doug Peterson. He is a really good coach, and I'm pretty sure he's what helped them get as far as they did, even when they had a ton of backups playing for their team. So yeah, let's continue. Yeah, sorry for having to make another clip, guys. Literally the browser crashed as I was trying to make the video, and so now I have to make another clip for that. But anyway, let's just move on to week 3. What I'm going to do for the rest of the video, guys, is I'm going to try to be more brief about my explanations for why a team wins a game, because I realize that my explanations is what takes up most of the time, and you guys in the past have not enjoyed watching these extremely long videos, so I've tried to shorten them for you guys. So that's what I'm going to do this year as well, even though I've already taken up a good chunk of time already just speaking. For the rest of the video, I am going to try to speed up a little bit. But anyway, let's get into it. Tennessee at Jacksonville. Now, right now, I'm just going to say I'm taking Jacksonville. Now, for what reason? Well, let's be quite honest. Jacksonville's probably tired of losing to Tennessee because they've lost to them for the past couple of years. They've been swept by them for the last 2 years, 2017 and 2018. And I feel part of that could have been the transition from Gus Bradley to Doug Marrone, because when Jacksonville was really bad, they never were spoiled to the point where they didn't feel like they had to win games. Like, they were always going to compete against teams they could. So Tennessee, being their rival, are obviously going to want to compete with them. So that's what they did, guys. Well, that's what they play the teams decent. They always even view. That's why I say I want short, guys, so you guys don't miss this. Tired of it being like this. Are we having so much trouble? Okay, guys, I'm back, and we've had a little bit of difficulty with this browser. It's been glitching, and I haven't been able to finish this. But now that this is all running good, we might be able to do that now. So yeah, let's get right back into it. Buffalo and Cincinnati. I think these teams. Buffalo's better. Honestly, I could take Cincinnati in this one. They might be able to win that, but I like Buffalo. As you see, Cincinnati's already looking pretty bad. I mean, 0-3, man. That is not good. They are almost dead last. Who do I have dead last? Oh, New England. Wow. You'd be absolutely surprised if at any point in the season you have New England at 16th. But wow. Then you got Kansas City and Baltimore. Yeah, this game took place. This game was in the same exact place last year. I'm taking the same exact team because Kansas City, in my opinion, has only gotten better. So I've got to go with the team that's better. Hey, you go with bigger and better. You don't go with smaller and worse. Or if that's even how you think about it at all. But okay, now we got New York and New England. There's not even a chance for the Jets to win this. Even if you think there is, even if you think they're improved, I think they're improved. But heck, it's really hard to beat New England on the road. So I've got to take New England 100%. But honestly, I'd probably even say New England sweeps this series because I don't know if New York's even good enough to beat them at all yet. Houston and Los Angeles. Los Angeles. I think Houston has a shot. That's not a total blowout game, but I think there's going to be a lot of games that Houston does end up losing because, I just don't think simply they're good enough to win those games, but they are good enough to compete in them. Atlanta and Indianapolis, no doubt in my mind, I'm taking Indy. Atlanta could pull off an upset, but on the road against a good team like Indianapolis and a struggling team like them, yeah, wow, they don't even have a win yet. 0-3. Yeah, I've definitely got to take Indy and Miami and Dallas. Okay, now that one I considered taking Dallas, but you guys might be surprised with this pick. This one's out of the blue. I'm taking Miami. As much as good as Dallas is, and the fact that they're playing at home, you would think I'd take them. But the thing is, last year there was that game that Dallas had with Tennessee that I almost expected them to win 100%, and then they lost it by double the score. Like Dallas last year early in the season was playing very unexpected to what I thought they would do, and then they finished out really good. And I kind of think if Dallas is going to have any chance at winning the division, it's definitely going to be like how they did last year. I think they're going to start off slow, and as you see, they're already at 1-2. So yeah, I think Miami gets that upset, and think Miami is actually. I think Miami's actually going to try to compete because even though New England started out 0-2, that didn't mean anything. We know exactly what they're going to do because they always do it. In Denver and Green Bay, if they had Peyton Manning, I would take Denver, but Peyton Manning's been retired for years now. I got to take Green Bay, and even if they do have another bad season, I still got to take them with ease because heck, if I'd take Cleveland over Denver, I'd take Green Bay over Denver. It's that simple. Oakland and Minnesota. Now, you guys might think this is a bit biased here, but I'm taking Oakland. Honestly, even though Minnesota is at home, I think Oakland, knowing that they have a 5-game stretch of not being at home, I was about to say a 5-game road stretch. Thing is, one of those games in between there, we are actually going to London, so it's a neutral field, but technically we are on the road for 5 weeks, maybe 6, so that is going to be painful, and I think we're at least going to start that off decently with a win over Minnesota. I think we should at least start with a win over a team like Minnesota. I think it will definitely be very competitive. It's not like we're going to whoop them. If anything, we're on the same level as they are, so they'll probably compete with us really hard. But I also kind of think we need some revenge on them too for what happened in the last game we played. So wow, surprisingly, Oakland 3-0, starting off really nice, 2-0 in the division. And Pittsburgh and San Francisco. Okay, now I know this would typically be a game that Pittsburgh would find a way to lose, but the thing is usually that's at home. Like when they played Tampa Bay, that loss was at home. I mean, that Jets loss in 2014, that was on the road. But trust me, there are several other games where Pittsburgh's blown them at home rather than on the road. And I see Pittsburgh, when they go on the road against teams like this, they usually conquer. So I think Pittsburgh will take care of that pretty easily, even if San Francisco improves. So yeah, that'll drop them to 1-2. Both teams are 1-1, surprisingly too, so that could be competitive. Who knows? But I like Pittsburgh, even if San Francisco does turn out to be pretty good. Now, Cleveland and Los Angeles. Now, I know some people might think Cleveland's finally at that level. I don't think so. The Rams, they were just way too good last year. I don't see them losing this game. And that'll drop Cleveland to 2-1, as well as bring Los Angeles up to 2-1. I forget who I had them losing to before. I'll write that. New Orleans. I had them losing to New Orleans. So there you go. Guys, I keep worrying about this recording because I don't want it to be so. I feel like even though I'm trying to be quicker about it, it's still taking me a long time. Detroit and Philly. Philly. Even though Detroit probably does have a chance in this game, I still like Philly. They're really good. They're going to be really good. They're 3-0. No doubt in my mind. New York and Tampa Bay. I got to take Tampa Bay from last year's game. They absolutely embarrassed Tampa Bay, and now I think they want to return the favor. Carolina, Arizona. Okay, that one's kind of a tough one. I don't pick ties, so I'm going to pick Arizona. I'm just going to take the home team there. I think Carolina is definitely capable of possibly blowing them out of the park. But I think with Arizona's improved team, they're going to try and win early so they don't look so bad. And New Orleans and Seattle. Now, that's also a very tough one because I do think, is that Sunday night? No, Sunday afternoon. That would be a good Sunday night game, though. And as good as I think Seattle is, I think New Orleans right now is just the better team. Even though Seattle wouldn't be a bad pick, they did just pull an upset off last week, so I think New Orleans returns the favor. And wow, they're starting out 3-0, and they played the majority of their games so far on the road. Chicago and Washington. Okay, I'm not even hesitating to take Chicago. That defense is too good. Even though I could take Washington, I really like Chicago over Washington. Okay, so let's move on to week 4. We got New England Buffalo. This is a tough one. New England always takes care of Buffalo on the road. I was thinking about taking Buffalo, but that's not even realistic. New England's going to win this game. And just like that, I think they're going to work their way all the way up to second with this win, if I'm correct. Oh, please tell me we're not having recording trouble. If we are, please just let me exit out of this real quick. Okay, never mind. It let me pick. Okay, so yeah, I picked New England. So, wow, that still didn't move. Oh, it's because Buffalo has a better division record. Okay, guys, so I got so the rest of the games for week 4, I already got them out. I already got them finished. So Oakland, I have them losing their first game to Indianapolis. So now they're tied with KC, but they still have the lead in the division. The Chargers always find a way to lose to Miami, and I think they're going to be on a real hot streak trying to stay atop in the division there, as obviously New England's starting to catch up, winning 2 straight, but Miami's going to try to stay on top by beating whoever they can. That'll drop the Chargers down to 2-2. Honestly, the Chargers are going to get much better later on in the season. Atlanta over Tennessee. Both of these teams, I realized, actually were 0-3, so I gave the home team the win there. Why not? I mean, I could definitely see it going either way, but I like the home team in that one, with neither of them having wins. KC over, and it's not that I think Tennessee's going to be awful. They just had a really tough 4-game start. So I like Atlanta over Tennessee. Kansas City over Detroit. Let's face it, even though Detroit probably does have a chance to pull off that upset, I like Kansas City very much over Detroit. Probably by a few possessions as well. Carolina and Houston. Houston really desperately needed a win. Carolina already had a win. Well, actually, Carolina didn't. You know what? Actually, I think I'm going to change that. In desperate times, I think I'm actually taking Carolina. I trust Carolina more than Houston in this situation. So I'll take Carolina on the road to get their first win. Because I didn't realize I had Arizona beating them. But Green Bay, I got them over Philly because they're once again playing a Thursday night game. They want to prove themselves. New York, I got them beating Washington as they always seem to take care of business, and that'll be their first win. And Washington only has 1 win. Seattle over Arizona on the road. Usually they take care of Arizona on the road, and I obviously think they're a much better team than Arizona, so they should probably win that. Tampa Bay over Los Angeles. I think both of these offenses will really be high powered, and this could be a very high scoring game. But in the end, I like Los Angeles by a couple of touchdowns. Minnesota and Chicago. We'll go with the home team. I don't know if that'll be split or not, but Chicago, I like their defense much more, and I think they're at a much higher level. And there they are at 4-0, so they're competing with New Orleans as the best team in the conference right now. And of course, speaking of New Orleans, I have them beating Dallas to get to 4-0 as well. So, yeah, let's move on to week 5. All right. Guys, I've been having trouble all night with this thing because I swear I've been doing this all night. Okay, can I mess with that? All right, guys. So, let's see. Yep, we're fine. Okay, guys, so there are some games I missed. I realized that I missed Cleveland and Baltimore, Jacksonville and Denver, and Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, and I have all the home teams winning. Part of the reason I have Baltimore and Pittsburgh winning, they're both playing in rivalry games. I think Baltimore and Cleveland are about the same, but I like the home team in that situation. Jacksonville, now I think they're a bit better than Denver, but yet I still like Denver because they're at home, and I still think their defense, I believe, is still pretty good. So this could be a defensive brawl here, and in that case, I like the home team. And then Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. Well, Pittsburgh's just owned Cincinnati these last few years, so I'm gonna go with Pittsburgh. I don't think Cincinnati's beaten them since 2015, so it's been a while. That's probably been even longer since the Titans have beaten the Colts. So we're about quarter through the season now, so let's check all the records now. So Pittsburgh is winning the AFC North currently as a 2 seed in the AFC at 3-1. Baltimore then following them as the 6 seed at 3-1. They're tied, but I guess there's a tiebreaker between them. I don't know if they've played yet or not, but there's some tiebreaker between them. Then Cleveland at 7. Wow, they're just right outside the playoff picture at 2-2. And then Indianapolis, they are winning the AFC South, and they are currently the 1 seed, as I believe they're the only team they're the only undefeated team left in the AFC at 4-0, and they are the 1 seed. Jacksonville not too far, just like Cleveland, from being in the playoff picture at 2-2. Houston 1-3, not doing so hot, and Tennessee really not doing so well. Well, crap, that's messed up. I had Carolina winning that game. So never mind. Both of them are at 0-4, but for some reason Houston still wins that tiebreaker. I guess for losing less games in the division. Miami, wow, that's a bit of a surprise, leading the East right now at the 4 seed at 3-1, and New England following behind by just 1 game at 2-2, as well as Buffalo. And then the Jets at the bottom at what the? There's no bye weeks yet. Who did the Jets play? Maybe they. Oh, okay, never mind. They are. Wow, they're already. I forgot that there were bye weeks in week 4. Okay, but anyway, I got them 3-1, and so far in the division, they at 3. I got 2 of them, and the rest all tied crazy. So they're 6 seed, apparently in the tiebreaker. I guess they were in the tiebreaker with Green Bay. Probably Green Bay, but I guess since they haven't played a division game yet, they have the seed right now. Of course, none of these are final yet, though. We still have a long way to go in this. We're only 1/4 of the way. So I'll catch back up with you guys once I'm actually going to do the next couple weeks and then show you guys. I think that's how I'm going to do this video. So let's hit next. And it closes. Yep, cool. Alright guys, so let me just show you what I got these last 2 weeks. So I got Pittsburgh over Baltimore. Okay, so there's the first matchup, and so yeah, that'll give Pittsburgh a 1-game lead over Baltimore, as I believe they were tied at 3-1 before. And Tennessee, I'm giving Tennessee this win over Buffalo because, well, not only are they at home, but they actually need to take advantage of a game like this because they have not been able to play at other teams' competition this whole season because, like it's just been so hard for them to play at other teams' competition this season so far because, I mean, they're 0-4 for goodness sakes. So they really need to get a win, and I think this is where they get their first win. So that's lucky for Tennessee. Denver at Los Angeles. I like Los Angeles. Los Angeles not only is a better team, but also they're on a push for the playoff, and 2-2 is not getting it done. So they've won some games since, and they're gonna win this game to get to 3-2, and now they're in that conversation. And as you guys see over here, Oakland actually lost, so that basically puts Los Angeles in that 2nd spot and drops Oakland down to the 3rd spot, losing to Chicago, who they gave Khalil Mack to. I'm still mad about that. Why would you give him away? He's a once in a lifetime pick. You give that away for money? Wow. What a great organization we have. Whatever. Okay, so Indianapolis and KC. Even though Indy has the better record, I think KC is ultimately the better team. They've improved a lot from last year, and heck, we already thought they were going to the Super Bowl last year. With this improved defense that they have, I can't see really many teams stopping them in their path. So that's going to put KC up to 4-1 and drop Indy to 4-1. So now that gives KC the tiebreaker and the number one seed in the conference. And Los Angeles is actually at 6. Okay, Arizona at Cincinnati. Now, you guys might have noticed Cincinnati was actually winless before. They were 0-4, I believe, and Arizona was 2-2. I think this was Cincinnati's desperate opportunity to finally get a win, and I think just like Tennessee, they take care of it, and they get that win to get to 1-4. So now they finally have a win, but the playoffs is not likely for them. NYJ and Philly. NYJ and Philly. Now, of course, being well rested and going on the road against such a good team can possibly compel a team like New York to play really well and possibly pull off an upset. But of course, Philly, I just think at the end of the day, is way too good. And even though they're not as rested, they still are more prepared for this game than New York because this is going to be an overwhelming task for them. And I think Philly takes care of business. Now, the Cat teams, Carolina and Jacksonville. I know this is kind of stupid how I decided I was going to pick the home team. I can't really say who's better because they both had really bad seasons last year. But I like Carolina. Plus, they're really in a desperate situation. They need to start getting some wins. Heck, they were 0-4 heading into this. They really needed a win. So Jacksonville really needs to get one at this point. Yep, Chicago over Oakland. Okay, now New England, Washington. Now, I'm just going to spoil it. In week 6, they play the Giants, and that's at home. So I didn't know if I should have picked the Giants in Foxborough or Washington at home, but I think it's more likely that this more experienced Washington team, well, kind of experienced Washington team, has a better chance than New York. I think one of the two are going to pull off an upset. I think either the Giants win on the road or Washington wins at home. And I think with how bad New York has looked, Washington winning at home would make more sense. So I gave them that upset, and I gave the Giants the loss, quite obviously. I don't know how bad it's going to be, but I expect the Patriots to win that game. I'm going to be so mad at myself, though, if it's the other way around, just because I had more confidence in Washington. But anyway, I'm going to go with Washington over New England and then take the Giants in Week 6. We'll take New England over the Giants in Week 6. So Atlanta and Houston, two desperate teams once again. Houston, this is where they get their first win, and Atlanta drops another one. So now their records are tied, and obviously you see that didn't help Houston very much as they're still dead last in the conference, which means every team in the conference now has a win. So that's handy dandy, isn't it? Yeah, whatever. And then Los Angeles. Oh nope. San Francisco and Cleveland. Monday night, San Francisco, and well rested. Yep, got to take them. Even though Cleveland may be the better team, San Francisco is still known to beat teams that they really shouldn't beat, especially if they're well rested. So Los Angeles at Seattle. Yeah, pretty much the only road team I have winning is Minnesota because the Giants are just that bad. But yeah, all these other games make sense. Dallas, I think Dallas wins because they're really desperate to start getting wins because they're falling way behind in the division and they don't want that to be the case anymore. So I think they don't really rob them, but they still get one from Green Bay. Tampa Bay will lose to New Orleans, dropping them to 3-2, and this will now put New Orleans at 5-0, with them remaining undefeated. So now, yeah, other than Chicago, they're one of the only undefeated teams left in the conference. And Seattle, I just like that to be split. Last year, Los Angeles, I know they swept them. I think they're actually gonna. This is actually gonna be a fair series this year. This is actually gonna be a series that both teams have a chance to win at some point. So yeah, I'm taking Seattle in that game. And so Houston and Kansas City. Houston, let's be honest, they have a pretty good offense, but they don't have a prayer because they just are not doing the greatest right now. And they're falling apart, and Kansas City is going to take advantage. So I like Kansas City to win this game. Cincinnati and Baltimore. I like Baltimore because Cincinnati's just really bad and they're at home. Tennessee and Denver, even though both of these teams have about the same, win total. I mean, both of them are about 1-win teams. But I mean, Tennessee is really only that way because they have played some really tough competition so far, or some really level competition with teams I think they could go 50-50 against. And it just so happens Tennessee got the bad end of the 50-50 deal. So I think Tennessee is much better than their record shows, and they'll take care of Denver pretty easily on the road. So that'll get them to 2-4. Drop Denver to 1-5. Pittsburgh and Los Angeles. Now this is a prayer answered for Baltimore because they beat Cincinnati quite clear because they usually struggle with Cincinnati at home, but they went through the thick and thin to beat Cincinnati, and now their prayer is answered as Pittsburgh will now drop to 4-2 and their records are now tied. So if Pittsburgh continues to lose, just like they did last year, they can steal the division from Pittsburgh. And you would think I would have Cleveland higher, but nope, 3-3 makes the most sense at this point. Cleveland, come on, let's be honest, they're not like New England good. I mean, maybe they might at one point, but not yet. New York and New England. Yep, I already told you about that. Oh, that's Thursday night too. Yep, New England's usually pretty good at Thursday night games. Seattle at Cleveland. Okay, now that one might have surprised you guys since Seattle's doing so good, but I got Cleveland. I think Cleveland is actually starting to show how good they are now by beating teams like Seattle. I just think being at home will give them that advantage, so that'll get them to 3-3, still on one in the division. But yet they've only played one game compared to Pittsburgh and Baltimore, who played 2-3. Okay, so Washington, Miami. I like Miami. They're at home and they're well rested. And Washington just came off that huge upset. I like Miami quite clearly. I don't know how bad Miami's going to win, but I feel that Washington will be worn down and it won't be pretty. So yeah, anyway, I think Miami will win that, and whoa, that will help them even more because they're at 4-1 now and about a game and a half over New England. New Orleans over Jacksonville. I like New Orleans over Jacksonville. Like a lot. I don't think Nick Foles has ever beaten New Orleans, so that's a very good reason to take New Orleans there. Dallas and NYJ. Dallas is a better team, even though New York at home might be very compelled to pull off that upset. I like Dallas. And really, Dallas needs it because they're, like I said, they're way behind in the division race at this point, so they need to catch up. Carolina and Tampa Bay, I like Tampa Bay for some reason because it's in London. I mean, I could take Carolina because Tampa Bay, unfortunately, really doesn't get a home game against Carolina, but for some reason, I still like them in London. But I'll take them, and I guess that's a sweep. Philadelphia and Minnesota. I could go either way on that one, but I think Philly's going to get some revenge from what happened last season. Atlanta and Arizona. For some reason, I have this weird thing with animal teams, but when animals are the same, I just want to pick the home team. But I personally think Arizona is just on a push right now to try to do as good as they can from what happened last year. And really, Atlanta's not too far ahead of their. Actually, Atlanta has a worse record than they do at this point, so that would make the most sense. So, yeah, Arizona, I think, will win that game and get to 500. San Francisco, Los Angeles, quite clearly Los Angeles, and now this one might have, well, not been the most confusing, but still been pretty confusing. Why did I pick Detroit on the road against Green Bay? Well, one, they desperately needed a win, just like Tennessee, Houston, and all those other 0-4 teams. And two, while they're well rested and they're going on the road against their rivals on Monday night, and it just so happens that in recent years they've had pretty good luck on Monday night, except for when they played the Cowboys. But usually when they're on Monday night, they do pretty well. Last year they took care of the Giants pretty easily. And it won't be the case with Green Bay, but I do think that's one that they fight out to get their first win of the season, and they drop Green Bay to 3-3. All right, guys. So, yeah. All right, guys. So, yep, I did weeks 7 through 9. So, first game we got here is KC Denver. Denver has no chance. Jacksonville, Cincinnati. Even though Cincinnati's at home, I like Jacksonville's defense more. And of course, Jacksonville has been recently much more competitive than Cincinnati. Even at 2-4, I still think they have a better chance than Cincinnati to win this game, even with Cincinnati at home. So that is a win for Jacksonville, in my mind. And then Miami and Buffalo. I like the well-rested team in this rivalry, especially at home. I'll take Buffalo, and that will help them get to 3-3. And now Houston at Indy. Okay, I would have taken Houston if Indianapolis had not had the bye week, but that's just so enticing for me to take Indy there. Because they're well rested in, that offense is going to be ready to go. Houston isn't going to have a prayer in that game. So I like Indianapolis. And Los Angeles and Tennessee. Now that is one that could be an upset. This is at 4:05, so this could very much go either way. Now I don't know why I'm looking at the time to determine that. I'm really not. But I just like Tennessee in this one because last couple of times they've been robbed by the Chargers. They've given a valiant effort and couldn't quite get it done, but I think this is the effort they give, especially considering they will be playing Kansas City, and I don't think they'll get the upset this year. I'm just spoiling that pick for you guys right now. Tennessee, the last couple of times they've played them, have been able to upset them. So I don't think that'll be the case this season. Yeah, I don't think that'll be the case this season. So I think Kansas City will be able to pull that off this season. And New England over New York, once again, not one we need to speak about. Oakland and Green Bay, even though Oakland rested Green Bay, I still think is the better team, and I will take them in that game. Baltimore and Seattle, the Battle of the Birds. You guys know how I said that when two teams are the same kind of species, I like to take the home team. But in this case, I think Baltimore, being in the competitive situation with Pittsburgh as they are, I think they're going to compete as hard as they can to win this game and take that division. Briefly, but I do think they're going to do what they can to stay alive in that division for a playoff spot. So I think they battle to the death with Seattle, and I think they find a way to win on a last-second field goal or something. Then Los Angeles and Atlanta. I was actually thinking about taking Atlanta, but I was also thinking that Los Angeles is probably way too good to lose to a 1-5 team. So chance at upsetting Los Angeles. Not anymore, but fact, I think New York being at home, I think they'll win that. I think it'll be a split series. It'll be next time. I think San Francisco will take care of this against Washington on the road. That'll get them to 3-4 or something. New Orleans and Chicago. Okay, now this is a battle between two unbeatens, or at the time unbeatens, because they both now have losses. But Chicago, New Orleans at this point, Chicago is 5-0, New Orleans was 6-0. I like the team at home that's better rested, and I believe this was the scenario that Chicago's in with Los Angeles. So I think New Orleans meets the same fate they did last year, and New Orleans will take their first loss